All right, welcome to Words of the Wise. Today I have Chief Boerner from West Concord PD in Minnesota, 21 years experience in law enforcement. I'm really excited to have him on the show. So welcome, Chief Boerner. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking.
Of course, 21 years.
Yes.
Has
Yeah.
it flown by or does it
You
feel
know,
like
so,
21 years?
some days it feels like 21 years and some days it doesn't. Um,
I
yeah, in
can.
Minnesota Minnesota your average age or your max, not max, but generally 55 is when you can try to retire with your pension and the earlier you start the more that pension's going to be, but
Yeah.
so 21 looking at the back end of that 30 already. So
So you're going to go all the way to 30 years.
I could. I'd be 50, 54, 55. Um,
Nice.
but there's always, you never know what's going to happen.
I had this thought process earlier today, and it was a really weird moment. And I don't know why I thought about this. I was in the gym and I was like, I think it's because they had like some throwback music on, right? That was kind of like nostalgic. And I was like, oh, I remember where I was when this happened. And it felt like kind of like yesterday, where I was in my youth. And I had this moment where I was like, my life is like halfway over.
Yeah,
And that was a weird thing. And, just even hearing you talk, you're like, wow, like your career is almost over, it's over halfway.
potentially.
Still
Yeah,
got a
I
little
can
ways to go. Yeah.
certainly go much. You can certainly go further, but there doesn't seem to be I mean, there doesn't seem to be any monetary value in that, but there's certainly, if you're sitting in a good position and if that's what you like to do, but I feel like there's more there's other things I can try, and 55 is a pretty young age to maybe bounce into something different or
It's so young. Yeah. If for anyone who's listening who doesn't know you, maybe give us a little bit of background. How did you get into law enforcement? Is this something you've always wanted to do? And what did those 21 years look like for you?
well, I think law enforcement for me, it's not in the family. I don't have mothers, fathers, uncles, grandparents that were ever in law enforcement, but just kind of something for me, it was always, I think back, it was always that need to like know what's going on.
Mm,
Not like not like in a nosy way, just like hey, I wonder why that police officer, that squad car is going fast. I wonder where they're going. I wonder who they're gonna go help. Where's that ambulance going? Where's that fire truck going? So certainly the lights and sirens got me a little bit back in second grade and third grade, but
sure.
I can just remember second grade is when I decided that's what I think I should do. So certainly did what I could to be involved with the city I live in. So I know we had started an Explorer program, and then from the Explorer program, got involved with their CSO program, which was new for them as well, 20, 30, 21 years ago, or 24 years ago now. So that was kind of fun. And then it just kind of led into getting the schoolwork done while I was raising three kids as well. Just trying to make things work. So I, you know, we'd had one back then, and so I would wake up, go to school, come back, go to my McDonald's job, and close the McDonald's store in Owatonna, and go home, kind of settle down, get to sleep, get up, and do it over again. And I did that for 2 years through college, and then right away. But actually, after I got done with school and had my post license in Minnesota, once you go take your post license and that's approved or granted, you've got 3 years to get it activated, which means you got 3 years to find a job
Mhm.
or a department to support that licensing. Um, I had taken a couple years off just to make sure it was something I wanted to do. So I dabbled in some insurance work. I dabbled in some quick trip work, and I had tried to manage the quick trips, a gas station chain here in Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Um, and then finally thought, well, I probably am meant to do this. So off I went and found in 2004, found my first job right here in West Concord as a part-time police officer. So,
Amazing. I always admire people who just know what they want to do. And I think it's cool that you also tried other things to make sure that it was an educated decision and that it was actually something you wanted to do. But I was the total opposite. I had no direction for so long. And I always wished that I had that, where there was that one thing that was my driving force that I definitely wanted to do and had that, um, thing to strive for because I felt like a drifter for a long time until I found, my space in wellness. But over the last 2 decades, how has your perception on personal wellness evolved?
well, I mean, I started when I was 24, probably just probably in my prime physically.
Yeah.
And it's been a roller coaster for sure. My heaviest was probably about 280. My lowest has been down to like 183 or whatever it is. I'm kind of hovering in the middle right now. Um, Trying to get back at it as I get into my 40s and 50s, but it's tough because even I mean, if you're working overnights, who wants to, and you got kids and you got other responsibilities, it's I mean, it goes right. Not only talking about trying to eat healthy while you're trying to do this work, because you're not going to typically generally find healthy food at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So either you're trying to do that pre-planning, which is also tough to do if you're not that kind of personality, which I generally am not that kind of like pre-planner. I'm just kind of, hey, I'm kind of hungry, so what should I find? Um, the other problem too is there's really, I mean, even pre-planning it, there's not a lot of healthy options out there that will keep. So you end up with these gas station stuff or the fast food stuff trying to maintain. And at the same time, when you're working those kind of hours all over the board, I mean, the gym isn't really the first place you want to rush to when you've got some time off to just kick your feet up, hopefully, and rest your mind and body at the same time. So,
Yeah.
but it's something you definitely got to strive for and try to keep on. So,
Yeah, and I think what you said, it's an important reminder that you guys are wearing a lot of hats, and it's not just at work, it's at home too. And you have families and friends and work life that you're all trying to balance all at once.
well, absolutely. And it overlaps too, because for 21 plus years now, it never fails. Somebody that is a friend or a family or even an acquaintance calls me and says, "Hey, I have a question for you. Hey, can I ask you a question?" And it rolls right, you're home, you're off duty, you roll right back into that. Because you're a cop, you might know the answer to this. What do I do here? What do I do there? So
Interesting.
it's never ending. And then you get to the level of chief, especially of a small town. I mean, I've got two phones and I'm on those phones constantly. So I wake up right away, jump into that email, text messaging, phone call, and then try to go about your day before you even get to the office. Then you get to the office and you're really diving into emails and phone calls and then people see you. So now you're uniformed and ready and now they really got questions
Yeah.
and then trying to schedule out. There's two of us full time. We're all, these guys are learning as well and need some guidance
Yeah.
and try to get things done correctly and appropriately and legally. So,
I don't think I've ever considered that or I've heard that before. I mean, obviously, it seems obvious now that you said it, but I never considered that people would be like asking cop questions or like legal questions or like, hey, you're in law enforcement, so you should
oh
do
yeah.
this. Like,
I,
like it's
I've
hard
had
to
people,
disconnect if you're always having people coming at you being like, hey, I have this question. Or, what I've heard before is like, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened
yeah.
to you? And like the cop stories and stuff like that. So it is hard to disconnect if you're always having that coming at you.
Well, the thing is too, some of the stories you don't want to hear.
Mhm.
It's gross, it's nasty, it's sad.
Yeah.
So first off, I don't want to relive it if I don't have to. It's already stuck in my brain.
Mhm.
Secondly, to have to tell that story to somebody who doesn't need to hear it. I mean, and then of course the response is, I couldn't do that. Well, it's probably not. I mean, it's a good thing that you don't have to.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, I've had people, ironically, in 21 years, the one that sticks out in my head. This is a gal from high school. We graduated together. Haven't heard from her in 10 years. And she messages me on whatever platform, probably Messenger on Facebook or whatever. Hey, I know we haven't, whatever. Remember me? I'm like, yeah, I remember you. I have a question. Since you're a cop, can you answer this? I'm like, are you kidding me? We haven't talked in 10 years. But
You're like,
sure, I'll
you're like,
guide you
I
in the
feel
right
so
direction.
used. I feel so used. I wanted to ask, so like, do you think, and this is a two-part question, do you think that nutrition has been the most challenging part of wellness with working shift work and, throughout your career? Or what have you seen to be the biggest challenge with taking care of yourself? And the second part of that is, what advice would you give to someone who is younger that can keep them on track so that they don't, fall off or start letting that slip?
I would say the younger you are, start that routine because it's easier to keep that routine.
Mhm.
But it does get and try to be able to reevaluate, readjust if your shift changes. Because I know you go from this shift to that, however the department operates, you can jump around the clock and the board and whatever. But if you've got some consistency, keep on it, keep that consistency, keep that kind of routine if you can. Just make it a part of your, if maybe not 5 days a week, don't overdo it. Just start with two or three and get there. And I don't care if it's cardio, weightlifting, do what works for you.
Yeah.
Spend some
I
time at the gym too and talking with others. And it's like, well, that doesn't work. I don't do that. And this works for me. I gotta go lift and I do this. And okay, well, I don't, you just go do what you like to do. Be active. Go walking. Go walking. We have a guy here in town, actually, who I've known for since I came to town. And he lost a lot of weight. And I said, what have you been doing? And what he does is just walks. He just walks. He's
mm,
got a good nutrition. I think it's a lot of rice and a lot of chicken and what, proteins, but he just walks. He's not out running. He's not weightlifting as far as I'm told. He's just out walking around. So we'll drive around town and we'll see him, he'll wave, and we have meetings together on a different board, but he just walks and watches his nutrition. He keeps that, he's got a routine. He's kept that routine. He's kept that consistency. Um, and he's probably, his schedule's different. He's got that 9 to 5 kind of thing going on. So he probably does some meal prepping or meal planning, but keeps on the proteins, watches what he's eating and drinking. Drink lots of water.
yeah. Well, I love that you said routine and consistency because I preach that all day long. Like, it's hard to start anything new. It's not easy, and that could be with anything. It doesn't have to be wellness. It could be anything that's just new and out of the norm. It's always going to be harder to start something. And especially the older we get, I think that it's even harder because we're so
Yeah.
used to doing other things. But I love the idea of like keep it simple. Like start with just something that you like that you can do
Go out walking, walk
consistently.
on a treadmill. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And I
Do
also
a
like that
blanket.
you brought up protein because protein is so important for a number of different things. Obviously you want to have muscle mass, like that's going to help with your longevity, especially as you get older, but it also does help with weight loss. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I know we talked about nutrition earlier being challenging, especially with shift work. And so keep it simple, be consistent, and watch what you eat if you can.
At least be cognizant of what you're eating.
Yeah.
Sometimes and I'm not saying you can't eat whatever you want. Sometimes it's especially if you're active, but do it in moderation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you want that, whatever XYZ that you want to eat, you could probably do that, but don't eat two of them and don't do it twice a day. So eat what you like as long as you're very active and you
Yeah.
should okay. I mean I struggle. I struggle every day. So
I feel like you looked me in the eye when you said that, and I felt really guilty because I just had peach cobbler a couple nights in a row, and I was like, oh no, I had two slices instead of one. But I agree with you. I think moderation and give yourself grace and keep it simple, create that consistency, and then that grows over time. More you like start to do it, the easier it is, and then the more frequently you can do it, and the more sustainable it'll be. I wanted to maybe touch back on something you said earlier. You said that it's nonstop. You wake up in the morning, you go straight to emails, everyone's asking you questions. How do you disconnect so that you can find balance between work and home? And how important do you think that is that someone has the ability to have that space away from the job?
Well, luckily in my current position and time in life, my kids are all adults. So they're kind of all out of the house doing their own thing. So it's not really I'm not really missing any kind of family environment. But there was a time with when staffing was so bad in Minnesota in the last couple of years that it was just me here,
Mm,
just me trying to run, a department 7 days a week. Um, whatever happens. We do have some help with the surrounding county because they knew it was just me and they help out where they can, but it comes down on me for sure. Um, so once I got some staffing and I kind of got comfortable with especially the full timer that we hired, and he's in year 2 now, I kind of pushed off kind of delegated, not pushed off. Well, it is, but it's delegating some of the stuff just to him
mhm,
and trusting that he's going to get some of this done. So I have been successful in the last few months for sure, 5 to 6 months, where I will tell everybody around me in emails to the people that need to know I am gone. I am unavailable. Here's your go-to. And then that officer has a different number, so I know if he calls, it's important. And
mhm,
I said, I'm going to put my work phone away because you're in charge. And if you need something from me, then you know my personal cell. You give that a call saying, I mean, I'm sorry to bother you. I need to talk to you now. Something's going on. Okay. And if there's nothing that happens that doesn't need my attention, the phone goes quiet. So anything's always possible, but it was nice to be able to put that work phone away and be like, I'm not even paying attention to this. I
mhm.
got to put it away.
Yeah.
I want to say we were either in Florida or Arizona, but it could have been it could have been Seattle too. I'm not sure, but I've had some pretty decent vacations where I did get to step away. So,
Yeah. And I think, it's a reminder to everybody. We've all, I think, been in those situations before. Like I'm super guilty of it too, and I think what you said that stuck out to me is trusting that the job can get done and trusting your team. And I think that's hard, especially like when you have like the personality type of like wanting to be in it and wanting to have like, I don't want to say control, but um I'll use control as a word. I
yeah.
think it's okay to say that. But you want to be in it and you want to make sure that everything is good. And I've done the same thing and I've had to learn over time to trust the people that are in my corner, who can do the job and, be able to give myself the space because I realize that, you know, if I'm going to help others, I have to help myself first and I have to make sure that I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And if I'm saying to you, "Hey, maybe we wait 10 minutes in the morning before we hop on the phone and look at emails so that you can at least like wipe the crust out of your eyes and like take a couple deep breaths, maybe like grab a coffee, then I have to also be willing to do that. And I am super guilty of getting up and going straight to my emails. So I think that you just learn with time, like how can you create that space? And then how can you trust your team that the job will get done and it'll get done effectively?
Oh, absolutely. And I can think back to the first couple vacations I did take where I tried to do that, and I still found myself going back to the phone and calling in a couple days later. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Has it burned
Nothing.
down yet?
Yeah, nothing. Do it. Like you're not missed. We're fine.
Yeah.
So I remember calling me a lot of it just because I'm in the thick of it. So
Yeah, and I think it's a little, it's for me, I have two feelings about this. One, it's like freeing, be like, oh, I can trust my team to do that. But then it's also like, oh, maybe I'm not as important as I think I am. You know?
what do you mean I'm not needed?
Maybe they can't, yeah, maybe I'm not needed. Maybe they can totally do it without me. I wanted to ask you with a smaller agency and a smaller team, how does that impact your communication, your support, the type of wellness that you have within the organization? Because I've had a lot of conversations with, and to anyone who's maybe listening to this for the first time and doesn't know, like most agencies across the country are small rural agencies. Like most across the US are going to be smaller teams. And so the conversation I've had is that it's harder to have resources organizationally in terms of like peer support or, anything like that because it's so close knit. And so
Yeah,
what have you seen
small.
to be like challenges and successes within your department?
I mean, on the success side, we are small, so we all lean on each other. We all have these conversations. I like to feel like I don't come off as the boss. I've always told people, I said, yeah, of course, I'm by design, I'm the chief of police, but I don't want you to sit there and salute me and not feel comfortable.
Right.
So I think because we're so small and I've gotten that emphasis out there that we're definitely coworkers and friends and on um that we can talk about those things. But on the other hand, it's tough because we don't have those actual resources put into place because we are so small. So
Yeah.
there might be things that are going on that they don't want to talk about with anybody because we're so close. So it's tough because there's no place to send them. Like there's no third party. There's no, I mean, and I mean, obviously there's some things out there you can find as a resource, but nothing structurally, in within our department that's here's your protocol. It's if you need something, we'll figure it out. So
And I like that you said like you humanize yourself and you try to create that like team family environment where you guys lean on each other and support each other. And I know in talking to other agencies that some of those things are challenging. Peer support is maybe not possible when it's so tight knit or people don't feel comfortable. What do you think is the biggest challenge organizationally? Is it that, you don't have buy-in or funding or what are you seeing as the biggest challenge right now?
well, funding is always an issue. Scheduling is an issue.
Yeah.
Um, the rate of turnover sometimes, they've been there for a while. Like I said, we had nobody. And
Mhm.
you start these officers and they come and go so quickly that to put them into some kind of a peer support role, it's like you've got them for 6 months and they're gone, and now you're starting over. So
Right. That makes total sense. You can't really afford to lose anybody.
no, never,
We
but we
don't,
do.
we definitely don't want to go back to when you're working alone. That sounds really tough.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be. I hope not to have to do that again.
yeah.
So
I know that when we talked offline, you were mentioning that this job takes a physical toll
that
on your body, the shift work, sitting, your equipment. Um, what do you think that departments can do better to support physical wellness? And how do you think that individuals can also take accountability and responsibility for their own personal wellness?
well, I definitely think it starts with the individual. I mean, you can't lean on a department to always have to take care of your every last need. I mean, you're not working 24 hours a day. So again, make it part of your routine to go and lift some weight if you need to, or run, or whatever trips your trigger in regards to exercise, whatever works for you. At the same time, when you're exercising, try to clear your mind as well. So do a physical and a mental little workout, and just focus in on that. But I do know that there are a lot of departments, I mean, definitely larger than ours, where they have got like the resources to like you can take an hour and go to the gym that they provide because you can go off duty for an hour or whatever, work out, clean yourself up and get your uniform back on. That's an interesting resource that I we don't have here.
I like that.
There's places that offer probably some cafeterias or some, some lunch areas that offer some healthy choices.
Yeah. And I really like that you made it sound like it's a partnership. It's like, because I do think that you do have to, and maybe I'm gonna get judged for this, but whatever. Um, you have to take accountability for yourself, and I think so often you do start to look externally of like, well, we
Well,
don't
'cause-
have the time to work out in duty and therefore I'm not going to work out. And it's like, yes, that is something that you would love to have, I'm sure, as a department. I would love to have the staffing and the facilities and the ability to do that, but it's also we have to look at ourselves and take responsibility for our own wellness. And I will say that when you aren't feeling good, like I get it. If you're not feeling good physically, mentally, the last thing that you want to do is go and do something like work out or whatever. Like I've totally been there. But once you start doing it, you never regret doing it after the fact. You always
right.
feel better. And so it goes back to what you said, start somewhere, start easy. And I love that you mentioned the physical and the mental together because they are so intertwined. And like I said, I was working out this morning and it was so hard. I had been working out with a personal trainer for a while and then I stopped and I came back and he had no mercy on me and was like, you know, working me really hard. And I had this thought to myself that like I am training myself not just physically to be able to do this hard thing, but also mentally. I'm training myself to be able to do this hard thing. Do I want to do it right now? Not really. Like, does it hurt? Like, does everything hurt? Yes. But then at the end, you feel so much clearer. You have more energy. You feel really accomplished. And so I do think
Feeling you did something.
yeah, and so I do think you do have to, it's a partnership. You want the organization to support your wellness and do what they can for your wellness, but you also have to take responsibility for your own wellness.
Yeah, when you said when we got to the words accomplished, I thought back to a a Navy guy gave a speech to a graduating college class, and he talked about it's called making your bed.
Hmm.
And I don't know if we can lead into pushing people to watch certain things and promoting, but this I watch this every once in a while because the whole premise, he goes through the whole story about going through his Navy SEAL training and in the water and swimming this and whatever. But he said it goes back to when you wake up in the morning, you make your bed. Because if nothing else, you've accomplished one thing that day, and you come back at the end of your day and your bed's made.
Yep.
It was cool. If anybody gets a chance, or if you get a chance to take a look at that, it's just the Navy make your bed speech, graduation speech, and I watch that once every few months just to get back on track because it's like, okay, one little thing at a time.
I
And
think
he's
that
like,
sometimes
if you've accomplished nothing else that day, you made your bed. You came back to that and yep, I did something today. So
I think sometimes that's all we need is like the little wins. I think that sometimes, especially from a mental health perspective, things can be really hard, stressful. You guys have a lot going on. Everyone has a lot going on, and but especially you guys and the things that you see in the shift work and raising families and all the different hats and everything, all at once. And sometimes it's the little wins that keep you going and make you feel rejuvenated and re-inspired. And I really like that idea of at least you accomplished this and then giving yourself like permission to be proud of that of like even though it wasn't world changing, at least it was something that I did that was good. And I think that anytime you can and maybe it's not making your bed even though I understand that that's what he's saying is like do that
yeah.
very tactful actionable suggestion. There's other things I think that you can do too to start your day, where I think that if you can do something first thing, because we know that at the end of the day, and there are some people who will go to the gym at night and that maybe that's the only time, but if you can do something the beginning of your day then you don't feel guilty for not doing something later,
Ex-
and that could be something so simple. Like it could be, waking up and just saying three things you're grateful for. And that's practicing gratitude and that's creating more mental resiliency over time. Or maybe doing a quick breathing technique that's 5 minutes long in the morning. And now you prepared yourself mentally for the day. There's so many things I think that you could start your day with something where you feel like you prioritized you and your wellness and you were successful.
Yeah, and it seems to me like there's a lot of apps out there that can assist with that.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, even if it's 4 or 5 minutes. I know at one of our conferences for Dare a couple of years ago, we had a psychiatrist or a psychologist come in, and she had mentioned too. She's like, I mean, the first thing she did was everybody shut their eyes and just start to count and clear your mind. And I think the point of the exercise was how long do you think that was? And people were like, this and that and this and that, and it was like 2 or 3 minutes. People were like, wow, that didn't take much, I think was the point in her exercise. So
Yeah. And I think that that's the illusion that you have to do something for an hour for it to be effective. There's so much science and of course like all this education and this research is available so you can look it up. But there's so much science that shows that just doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes can significantly improve your mental and your physical health. And so there are ways to do things that are short and effective. It's just more about a prioritization of your time. And that's the number one thing that I'm always going to hear is I don't have time. And I'll clap back at that every day because I do think that we have more time than we realize. But it's the prioritization of our time. So maybe it's, one less Netflix show where you can take, maybe 5, 10 minutes to do something. Maybe for the younger people who might be listening, it's one less Instagram scroll session where you look up and it's 30 minutes
yeah,
later,
one less
so
one less Snapchat, one less give
yeah.
me attention app, whatever it might be. So
Yep.
I I know a lot of people around me have a hard time yeah, just a hard time stepping away and not like I've told my friends too. I'm like, you don't have to always snap back or have to answer back. Sometimes you can just read it and move on. Like it's got to end at some point or it's never ending. So you don't need the last word because there's no last word to be had. If somebody snaps you, you don't have to keep your streak alive. You're still going to be friends tomorrow if you don't snap each other to keep your streak going today. So it's okay.
I honestly think I'm too old. I don't even know what snapping it. I mean, I know it, I've heard of it, but I've never done that. And
Snapchat?
I, no,
Now
I've
there's now
done,
there's streaks on there. If you break your streak, and even Snap is like trying to tell you you're gonna break your streak. So people
no.
just snap. I've watched my kids just go through his when he gets 5 seconds, he just goes snaps through, and I'm like, and they just snap the table in front of him, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're not saying anything. It's not even a picture of like anything you're doing. It's just the table in front of you. Like, oh, I can't break my streak, and I'm like, oh my God.
I'm honestly so glad. And obviously, we're going to start to see that what happens with the newer generation with like attention span and, being present and those types of things and what happens. But I'm so happy that I grew up in a generation where we didn't have any of that. Like we were playing outside and like we were hanging out with each other and I had landlines. That was how we called people and that was about it. And
Yeah.
I had a cell phone, I think an actual cell phone for the first time when I was in high school and we like my phone would die for days and I wouldn't care. Like I had like analog like black and
Yeah, a
white
little flip
texting.
phone.
Yeah, and
You're
like
texting one number with 3 letters, and you
exactly. Yep. And we still survived and we still got to hang out with each other and we didn't die. And so I think I'm grateful for that because I do think that that is a distraction that takes up so much of your time. And I do think it negatively impacts your mental health. And it doesn't allow you the space to be present and to be mindful and to actually offload stress. It's one of those numbing and avoidant coping mechanisms that I think we're going to start to see, come into play, especially with the younger generation. In context of the younger generation, I wanted to share some info with our listeners that you told me that you serve on the Dare board, correct?
I do. So I'm
Yeah,
treasurer of the Minnesota Dare Officers Association, and I am vice president of education for the Minnesota Dare MND Minnesota Dare org, which actually is the charter for Dare in the state of Minnesota. So I sit on that board as well.
that's amazing. And being on the board and being so involved with Dare and being closely connected to the youth, how have those interactions, or maybe I should say, what have those interactions taught you about leadership? And how has that impacted your hope for the future generation?
So when I first got into Dare, it was in my first year with the county. And let's be clear, I wasn't 21 years ago, I was not the public speaker. I was not the one that wanted to get in front of anybody and say anything, and be the center of attention. I don't want the stage, I don't want the microphone. Um, just let me go do my job in my squad car, pull people over, go to these calls, help people and go home, right?
Mhm.
Wasn't certainly wasn't going to be, that is not leadership material, right? You're along for the ride and doing your thing, and that's fine. We've got guys like that. I've seen guys like that do a whole career like that. Perfectly fine. We need those guys. Um, but I felt like I wanted something more. I've always thought I wanted to teach in the schools, like, hey, not a cop, let's try to be a teacher.
Mhm.
But how can we meld those together with my 2 year little associate degree? So I can't go. I'm not going to be a teacher unless I go back to school myself. So they asked if so nobody wanted the stair spot 21 years ago, and they gave it to me. Went through 2 weeks of heavy training at the military base in the cities here in Minnesota, and they give you tables, they form you up into teams, they give you a mentor that you're going to work with for 2 weeks, and the first first thing they do in their in the DOTs, their officer trainings, is you are given one word on a piece of paper, and you need to make a 3 to 5 minute speech off this without preparation.
Mhm.
Just get up and talk about it.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah. But not only that, but once you get through that training, you go to those schools and you get in front of these kids, and there's 20, 30, 40 of them sometimes that are looking at you and they're intrigued. A lot of questions, a lot of very impatient young children at fifth grade. Um, but then you get to the last lesson in the DARE curriculum, generally is your graduation. Graduation includes the children, their parents, their brothers and sisters, their aunts and uncles, their grandparents. And the biggest one I had was a class of 6 classrooms times 30. So do the math there. There had to be 200 to 300 people in the
Wow.
bleachers, and they're all focused on me. So you want to talk about not liking to be in the spotlight?
Hmm.
And it's me. It's all on me. Kids behind me, but it's me talking about the program, me talking about the kids, me introducing the sheriff or whoever the leader is there at that point. Um, I honestly believe stuff like that got me to the sergeant position that I took with the county, and certainly got me to the chief's position I sit in today. And
Mm.
it certainly got me to these public speaking events I do, things like this that I'm more comfortable doing than I never thought I'd be doing.
Yeah.
So it just and the number of leaders, if you ask them if they've ever taught there, a great majority of them will say, yes, I have. Yes, I have. It just changes your outlook. It makes you more well-rounded and more public. So, and I think to be a leader in law enforcement, you're not going to sit behind a desk. You have to, so now I'm not, maybe I'm not teaching children anymore, but I'm now in charge of and standing in front of 4, 5, 6 officers
Yeah.
that are looking to me for, hey, how do you want us to do this? Why do you want us to do this? And I do clearly, as the chief in a small town, give a lot of very public. So, and I do some. public speaking. You're going to city council meetings and you're put on the spot with your monthly report. So now you're speaking in front of your entire council, the mayor, the other directors of the city, and any public that wants to be there. So sometimes they want to be there because of things because of some of the things that PD is doing, right? Some of the things my office is doing, I have to explain that. So
Well, I like that you brought that back to leadership and how that's helped you to develop skills that maybe weren't necessarily in your comfort zone. And I have experienced something very similar. I mean, when I did my first podcast on here, I was so scared and I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, I don't know how to talk to people, and I've done conferences and it's the same thing, and it kind of goes back to everything we've said so far is like, you got to start somewhere and like it gets easier over time. But you have to be willing to start. You have to be willing to like try to do something. And it is really, it feels like an accomplishment, when you can get in front of people and speak confidently and you can hold your own and, you don't feel scared or uncomfortable. You've built like that muscle and
yeah,
skill set to be able to do that. And I do think that that is a sign of a good leader is to be able to um, communicate effectively.
but I think it all circles back to being willing to try new and different things if the opportunity presents itself,
Mhm.
even if it pushes you outside your comfort zone, because you don't know where it's going to lead
Yep.
ever. But at the same time, when you're feeling accomplished, I think that kind of clears your mind a little bit to feel some more endorphins and whatever else is going on when you feel like you're doing something and making a difference, doing something that you didn't think you'd like, but you do like, and always thought maybe I would. But I also think that that leads into just other healthy choices, right? So now you're like, well, maybe, so that leads into eating healthier, exercising more. I mean, it's a big circle, really.
It's a snowball effect or a ripple effect, however you want to visualize it. But I agree. I think one leads into the other. I think that wellness is all really interconnected. And I think that I know this word, some people roll their eyes, but I do think that wellness is holistic and you can say like holistic,
Yeah.
and it is, it's a big, um, it's all interconnected and it's all related to each other. So I love that you said that. I wanted to ask you one final question. What words of advice would you give to someone who's earlier in their career? Maybe something that you wish you would have known or something that's helped you along the way.
Hmm. Be ready to roll with any changes because law enforcement is extremely it's a roller coaster. You don't know because politics does play a role. Public outcry, public outlook. I mean, it changes. It's changed a lot in my 21 years, and I can even speak back to more than 21 years because you look at cops back when I was in my, elementary school and how police work kind of was and how it's changed. And
Yeah.
that changes as everybody gets older and retires out. I would say the only thing I've always ever told people is if it's possible, and you're going to college for this job, have a backup plan. If you're majoring, have a minor, have a backup plan. Know what you're going to do when you're done after 20, 30, however many years you choose to put in. Because again, and I don't know about other states, but in the state of Minnesota at 55, generally that's where you can start looking at your numbers. And I don't know if you want to be wearing this uniform in your 60s and 70s, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do next? Have that in your mind. Have a plan.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I thought our conversation was great and I really do value you and your time coming on here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.